Mike, I'm going to start the recording here as we go. All right. Welcome, everybody. Mike, how about you take us away here for a second? Tim is working on making his way in the door. What is the plan today, Mike?
Yeah, so we're very privileged to have Hook Agency as one of our partners and in a partnership with what we do. I talk about like something like this. So for those of you who are coming back or those who are joining us, I do appreciate you coming by. Tim is the man, the myth, the legend, and I've told his team this before, but it's worth repeating. There are times I've been in the roofing industry for over 30 years. And there are times, and I think everybody on this call is going to resonate with this. Sometimes you do business with people just because you really like them and you become loyal to them, sometimes regardless of the performance that you know you're going to get. You just really enjoy hanging out with them. There are other people who you do business with because they're just dang good at what they do. And whether you like them or not, it doesn't really matter. When they perform and they go above and beyond, and they just are fantastic people to work with because they're just that good at what they do. Every once in a while, though, you get the privilege of working with a team that's not just really good at what they do, but you love working with them. Hook Agency is one of those organizations to me. Love what they do. Their performance, like their reputation is unparalleled, and the team is just fantastic. Tim, there's really only one person on your team that I don't like, but they know who they are. So,
yeah, exactly.
But yes, thank you for joining us today, and really looking forward to sharing some of your wisdom on some of the marketing strategies and SEO and all the stuff that you have in your reservoir of experience and knowledge.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, guys. I'm very excited to talk about kind of how all these marketing things work together. So we're going to be talking about website and then SEO and then social. And we kind of, we could dive into those a little bit more if anyone has a lot of questions at the end as well, I believe. Is that correct, Mike? We've got the ability to do some Q&A.
Yep, for sure. We're taking a note of those. Courtney, you'll be on the questions, and we'll keep those for the end. So if attendees do have questions, put them in the chat. We'll be watching them come in, and we'll be addressing those as we go.
Perfect. All right. So I just want to start with the why here, as good old Simon Sinek tells us to do when we're presenting. And the why around marketing, and real quick, the why around websites, because marketing, we need more attention, right? Every business dies in obscurity. We need more people to know about our company. We need to get as many people to know about our company as possible, especially in another call out here. We got Joseph Hughes's 5 Mile Famous, especially in that 5 mile area where you're really trying to dominate, right? Especially in that local market. So how can we get more attention in that local market? And with a website, back in the day, you could get by with a business card website, a static, simple, basic thing that just had a little bit about your company on it. And nowadays, people are expecting more. And if you don't have that, if you don't have a decent website that really looks professional and ideally is persuasive, you're going to experience negative results for your reputation. And that goes, I mean, it's not as big of a deal if you're a door knocking organization. It's not as big of a deal because people they check the website. If it looks like complete trash, then if you have lower than a 4-star review, then maybe, right? Like you could lose some business, but particularly when you're using the internet and reputation to drive leads. So with that being said, let's get into it. Most people's websites are broken. I would say 90% of roofing websites are self-obsessed. And it's like you go into a party, you're hanging out with the guy, and all he can do is talk about himself. And how does that feel? That's how most of your websites feel. And there could even be pretty, right? There's beautiful websites. There's beautiful websites that get zero or very little leads. They focus way too much on the company, not enough on the customer. They don't give trust. Trust is the big thing. How can we get trust from a homeowner? And that wasn't as big of a deal back in the day because people weren't, those first 5-10 years when every roofer had a website, but they kind of sucked, right? Like it didn't matter that much because people weren't making decisions purely based on the internet. It was new and they wanted to know the people in person. Now we are making decisions, right? We got millennials coming up as homeowners. We got people even like in their 40s and 50s making decisions. Like I've never met this company. And in fact, I was just listening to a testimonial that our client got yesterday. Or they published it yesterday. It was beautiful and it was online. It was on Facebook and it was about the fact that the person didn't trust their friend. They didn't trust their friend. They wanted to have an impartial opinion. And so they went to Google reviews and they went to the website to make a decision. And you can imagine this is like beautiful to my heart to hear that they made that decision entirely based on their Google reviews and their website. And they trusted that more than they trusted their friend, which is statistically starting to happen more often, that people are trusting the reviews and the website more than the people they know. How weird is that? But it's the truth, and that's where we're at. And so if you don't have trust on there, you're not going to get those leads. And if you spend all this money getting, another thing we see is like people are spending $20,000 a month to send people to a shanty town of a website, which is like, you got to get people there, but they also need to be persuaded. It's not about beauty, but it is about persuasion, right? We need to be able to persuade them and get trust.
Perfect. Thank you so much for giving us that that overview, Tim, of kind of the historic problem with these sites and kind of the change from, over the last 20 years of a company's brand and a company's conceptualization to the public is being built on the internet now. That used to be built face to face, and it used to be built word of mouth through however they presented themselves to the public. And their new conceptualization, they have to build that for themselves on the internet for everyone to see. So it's becoming more and more vital. And so as we go into this, I know you've got all these beautiful slides prepared for us. So to frame the rest of this conversation moving forward. So what are these most crucial elements? How do you solve this problem?
Yes.
How do you have a well-developed website? How many people, how many pages do you want to see? How much interactive content versus purely informative?
That's good. And I'll kind of answer that too. We can kind of click into the next slide, and I'll just, as we transition, I'll talk about the fact we don't need a particular set of pages, but what we want is an ever expanding sales funnel. And every page is part of that sales funnel. And what I would say is think about buckets. And one bucket could be location landing pages. Another bucket could be services. And another bucket could be articles or blog posts. So we want to have the different buckets and templates on the website so we can have an ever expanding sales funnel. And at the top of the funnel, if you make me big for a second, I'm going to try to do this as a visual with my hands and stuff. If you get, I don't know. Okay. So the top of the funnel, right? We've got all the blog posts, the questions. There's a lot more of those questions on the internet. People are asking those questions more often than they're saying roofing in Anoka, Minnesota, right? They're not saying that as often as they're saying, do I need gutters? And how much does a roof cost? And all these other questions that sometimes get asked on the way to a sale. So if you think about the sales funnel, the top of the funnel, it's wider. And there's a lot more of those searches on the internet. And as you get into the location focus and the I'm ready to buy now questions, there's less of them. So, but you still want to have pages and templates for both. So you have pages for the locations, the services, which are bottom of the funnel, buy now questions, and then top of the funnel, all these kind of around the perimeter, maybe I'm ready to buy, maybe I'm going to be buying soon questions. And a lot of people traditionally, a lot of roofing companies have avoided all this that's up here, right? It's why there's some apprehension, some hold back on giving pricing or answering objections in our marketing. Even like when we talk about why are we more expensive? And I think your website should answer that as well. All right, so let's go back that slide here. Excuse me, I'm just going to say all this out loud.
No, absolutely. Take it away. This is your show. This is your rodeo.
So number one, we got strong visual call to actions. Your website, it should not be unclear what we want them to do when they land on the website, right? So whether it's a button, whether it's right away, you have the quote tool, whether it's a form, whatever it is, having that clear and right away. I like a form up top, but like there's a mixture of things that you can do, right? And the ability to quickly call people to action is we want them to know exactly what we want them to do when they land on the website. And this is another example of like that form quick. In this case, it's kind of vertical. In this case, it's at the end of a page. This is at the end. The last one there is at the end of every single page on the website. So places you want the call to action. You want that big button at the top right on every single page. You want a form right away on every selling page. That's my opinion. And then at the bottom of every page, you want a call to action. And you could have a secondary call to action for hey, what's up, Guillermo? We got people saying nice things about us in the chat. So I'm just going to say, I will say that just this week, Tim's company has launched our new website and we've got more leads and lowered our Google ad spending. Not sponsored. God, Guillermo, you're the man. Thank you. All right. So call to actions everywhere and really clear what we want them to do. And it's been kind of back and forth. I think a lot of roofing companies are not doing this wrong now. This is pretty standard and is becoming more standard, and we've pushed for it. We don't need to beat around the bush with roofing and exterior services because people aren't coming to hang out on our website for a long period, really. Like the point is we need to get more people there. We need to call them to action right away. And they'll be happy that we're doing that. Another problem I see real quick with call to actions is that sometimes people will have too many. So you got the chat form, you got this, you got that, you got this, you got that. Have 2 or 3 maximum. And like financing counts as one too. So like think about like you don't want to have too many things going on as far as call to action, clarity around what you want them to do. And let's go to the next point here.
Sure. So giving that customer a clear path of this is why you're here. It's the whole reason that you showed up. Clearly, we have everything together, and we've made it easy for you. Walk right in the door, get yourself set up.
Absolutely. Number 2, testimonials and other trust factors. And I call this, what we're looking at right here, as a trustimonial. Trademark, Tim Brown. Trustimonial. I'm trying to make it happen, okay? Trustimonial, because there's a picture of a smiling face. Maybe this one ideally would be a little bit more zoomed in. Smiling face, 5-star icon, where it was left, and then it's like an excerpt. It's not like 5 paragraphs because no one's going to read that, okay? But what we're trying to do is give it a little bit of that widget feel, like it's almost being like imported directly from Google or Facebook, because people don't trust testimonials. They trust reviews, and they kind of trust more like widgetized looking things because it doesn't feel like it was just faked. Like, because no offense, like everyone on the internet is kind of like assuming half of the stuff is fake all the time. So that's real. We are fighting that. Next would be these icons. This is like a trust factor. It's like Google 5 stars, Facebook 5 stars, BBB A+. Like this is just a visual thing that we want to have at the top of the page or at the bottom of the page, very prominent and on every page, ideally any selling page, maybe not blog posts, but any selling page we'd want things like this with ratings. Those are examples of trust factors. We want them to be clean or branded. Super simple getting started information. Like here's a 1, 2, 3, 4. Like I've seen this crazy before with roofing companies. They'll give you every single, then we're going to do an estimate. Then we're going to do detailed. It's like, ugh. Like as a homeowner, that's overwhelming to me. I get that that's what you're doing behind the scenes, but we don't need to know, like we're paying as a homeowner. I like going into homeowner brain because it's like, I can relate with, I don't want to work with a company that makes it that complicated for me.
And also, what are you compensating for? I should be able to trust that you are going to go through all of your due diligence of, keep it basic and simple. These are the steps in the process that you're going to understand. You don't need to get into the nitty gritty because we're professionals. We're going to take care of that for you.
Exactly. And that's what you communicate with a very simple 1, 2, 3, 4 step process. And you're solidifying and you're simplifying for them. And really that's what homeowners want now. Make it simple for me, please. And I would like to pay maybe a little bit more to have it simple.
Yeah. And they can always ask that question. What about this consultation phase? Can you clarify that? What all goes into that? And you can clarify that on the spot.
Right in the sales process, you're probably going to have to go into more detail here, but we're trying to get a lead right now. We're trying to get somebody to take action. And if they feel anxious or overwhelmed by the process, they're much less likely to press that button or submit that form or get that quote. But they're much more likely to take that action if it feels simple enough that they can get their head around it right now. We can expand on these later.
And we had a great question, Tim, do you recommend using live Google widgets?
Yeah, that's a complicated question because sometimes you definitely want one that can filter. I was just looking at a friend's website like 2 days ago, and I was like, hey, every single one of your location pages has a 2-star review as the first review. And that's not a 2-star company. They're like a 4.9 star company. So it's like, you got to just make sure that those are filtered. And I kind of like making them feel like a live widget, but not being a live widget, because I like to choose the ones with a big smiling representative homeowner that loves this company. You know what I mean? Like happy customers. If you did do that one, the one that I think is pretty good and it allows you to filter out low ones is called Trust Index. And that one is pretty good and it allows you to pull them from different places. There's a free version and then there's more advanced paid versions. Trust Index is a pretty good one for WordPress in particular. All right, let's get to the next slide here. This is just an example of like location anchoring for a location page. Is like we are serving this area and we've been serving this area for a while. You can see like we did like an honest professional. We're trying to give this badgy feel on stuff. All right, let's go to the next one. All right, we are on the third item, emotionally persuasive images and headlines. So we're getting trust. But you know what really gets some trust? If we could get into their emotions, that would be really nice, right? Like, so if you go back to that last one, like think about this, what this is communicating. There's no roofing crew in sight. And those cheesy, some of you guys might have it. You might have a guy with a hard hat who looks like he's a model, just like with a old school, hammer and nails or something, on your website. But what we want to do is we want to talk more about the homeowner than the company. We want to, even if you have the most beautiful picture of your crew installing a roof in the world, it's going to resonate more emotionally to communicate, hey, once you're like, what is this? I'm going to say it out loud, what I think this image communicates. And this is why I love this image. When you work with us, you're going to feel calm and you're going to be dry inside your home when it's raining. Simple. But that's essentially what we want to communicate. We want to communicate things like this that tug on the heartstrings a little bit, because everyone else has a dry website. Can we try to talk directly to their problem and alleviate their concerns? All right, if we can go to the next one. And then headlines that are more focused on them than us. So best roofing company in San Diego might not be the move, but maybe get the relief you need with stress-free roofing is kind of alleviating some of my concerns. It's more about me as a homeowner. And once you feel this and see this, you'll see that 90% of roofing companies don't do this. 90% of roofing companies are focused on themselves. And they're like that guy at the party that keeps talking about himself when no one cares. All right, let's go to the next one. No more short-term relationships with your roof. One way to remember this too is we're saying you right here and your, and it's an implied you all the time. We're not saying we. We're not saying us, and we're not saying best, and we're not saying top, right? So one way to remember this is keep your we off the website. I know you're going to remember that. That's why I said it. All right, next one. And then 4, an emphasis on search engine optimization throughout the process. And I'm showing an example of a FAQ section, because one of the main things we need to do, and you need to do on your website, is create spaces for content, more comprehensive content. And in this case, we're doing it with kind of some show hides to make it so you can open them if you want, but it's not this big overwhelming wall of text. And you could also do that more simply with just image on the right, text on the left, image on the left, text on the right, right? So you're just kind of like alternating, and that would also help kind of be able to get more content on there and without being just this big wall, because we need more content for Google to know what this page is about. And we want it to be comprehensive, and we want it to be useful content, but a lot of times we know the homeowner isn't going to read it all. That's okay. It's for Google, but it's comprehensive. All right, the next one. And this is just an example of like kind of that left-right thing, kind of having a figure on the right and then text on the left. Next one.
I kind of want to spend a little bit of time on this one, Tim.
Yeah.
Because when we're talking about trust and transparency, and that's one of the things that Roof Quote Pro is kind of changing the game a little bit, because what we're seeing in the online consumer and the way that they're conditioned to do, to make purchases, but even just to look for information, what are they looking for, and how are they gaining trust? One of the things that's a little bit unique about doing instant estimates on a contractor's website, and this is Apple, right? Is this Apple Roofing?
Yeah. Yeah.
One of our subscribers doing a great job and doing it across their all of their platforms. One of the things when they're talking about trust and transparency, the decision for a roofing contractor to start offering instant estimations through their website is accomplishing a few different things, and I'd like you to go into this a little bit.
Yeah.
Homeowners who trust you as a contractor that says you're not hiding cards behind your back that you don't want me to see. That kind of disappears. The ability for a contractor to be transparent with not just their products and their processes, but also with the pricing is changing the game in our industry a little bit. And the last thing I want to talk about is that compelling reason. Like, if you've got a website, it's set up perfectly, you've got a nice funnel started, what is the actual reason where a homeowner is going to start engaging with your website to the point where they want to give you their contact information? They want you to be able to contact them, and having that close rate, at least on your conversion rate on your website, to increase because you're being a little bit more forthright with your business. Can you kind of talk about a little bit of those things for those that are on the call?
I recommend people make pricing transparency one of their differentiating features, right? I believe, especially with ROOFLE, it makes it very easy to stand behind that, right? The ability to get price quickly, but even if they don't use that, just talking about pricing transparency more. I was just recommending I was introducing Mike is in the Minnesota area. I was introducing somebody, a client of mine, Josh Swisher, to somebody from Care 11, which is the local news station. And what I said was, I think you should go on their noon show or whatever and talk about pricing transparency. And he kind of went in like, well, our normal pitch is, you can get a roof for free in some cases with insurance. I'm like, no shit, dude. Like, that's everyone's pitch. And there's nothing wrong with that, but it's not newsworthy and it's not different. So, and I love Josh. So I say this with like love in my heart. No shit. Like my thing is like, I think that would be a great thing for him to go on the news with, as a differentiation and a difference, not just because there's other people in the area that use ROOFLE, but when you're really pushing it out there and you're really saying pricing transparency is our difference, if you're the first one to really hammer that in your market, you could significantly change the way people see at least your roofing company. And really what it is with getting people to take an action on a website, to me, like I said, is trust. Trust is the biggest thing. So I think about that 1-2 punch, right? And this is why when we make a website, a lot of times with ROOFLE, we'll kind of make a frame around it with trust factors on it. Things like this with the Google 5-star review. And a lot of times the badges with different types of reviews, the BBB, different things around your ROOFLE Roof Quote Pro, and then ultimately any call to action. So just to note, if you do that 1-2 punch of trust and then call to action, that's what we're really trying to do all throughout the website and on every page. So it's almost like making these conventions that live on every single, you want an ever expanding funnel of content with the same similar templates, and they should all right away when you land on the site have trust. This is an example with the 5-star 5.0 rating and an A+ rating. Trust and then call to action. Trust, call to action. So you'll see on every one of our websites when we have like the form up top or whatever kind of call to action is, there's always like trust stuff right around it because we're trying to decrease. It's like the lube of your website. Get me off of here. Get Tim out of here. No, but it is the lube of your website. Trust is the lube of your website. I'm doubling down now. We need that trust to be able to move forward with this stuff and to call it to action. So if you go look at your call to actions, not the lube.
Can I just tell you how much I appreciate that you threw Josh under the bus a couple of times?
Perfect. Yeah. He will
just really batting 1,000 on this one here, Tim.
Can I just say a few more positive things about Josh so I can relay? 32 years old, almost $15 million roofing company, brilliant guy, close friends. Anyways.
One of the best guys in the world. So yeah, loved it. Yeah, he'll get a kick out of this. So
yeah, perfect. Oh God. All right, let's go to the next part here. This is another example of using SEO throughout the design, which is interlinking. We want to link from blog posts to our service pages. So in the text, but also on every single page on our websites. And you can do this too using like related posts. We do this both on our posts and on our pages. So like if there's, a gutters page, then all the gutters posts could be linked in a section like this. But it's basically the principle of interlinking. You want good hierarchy on the website and you want to interlink to the different pages from each other. That's the ideal scenario.
And this works towards the new consumer trends of people looking for information first, not looking for services. Of how much should a replacement cost? How often do you need to replace a roof? How much value does it add? Having these blog posts will put you there. They just have to find the blog post and then, oh, this is put out by a company. Cool, let me go. Or see an instant quote if they have that feature turned on.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I agree. And then we're going to get into a little bit more about how that affects SEO in the next part here. And I think we're wrapping up the slide.
We should be here at slide 5.
The last one, 5. This is where I was saying maybe include something like price transparency as a big differentiator. Price transparency with our instant roof quote now, you could put that as a differentiating feature. You know, I like catch-all. I like very specific things. I like them to be as specific as possible. I think 15-year workmanship guarantee might be a little bit different because people don't always put these things on their thing. But like catch-all is very different, right? Like if you're doing that, like, so it's just finding things that you can really deliver on every single time and are very different than your competitors, or at least they're not saying it. You know, that age old, did anyone watch Mad Men?
Oh yeah.
He talks about the tobacco. They pitch it as it's toasted. Every tobacco is toasted, but they didn't say it. And we said it. You know, so if you say it and really hammer it and it feels different to the consumer, it's toasted, baby.
I love it.
I think we might have a couple more just examples real quick. We can page through and then let's get into SEO stuff.
Absolutely. Because we had a question that Mike jumped the gun on of, you know, how do we really focus and drive these visitors to your website into leads, and how do we turn that into leads? We pretty much already covered that with Mike's question there in the middle. So we're safe on that one. It is all these trust factors. It is everything you're building together and everything that you're putting in front of this customer to show them you're not afraid to explain your process, explain your price, explain who you are. Most importantly, you're not afraid to put them first and not spend so much time explaining who you are and what's special about you.
Yep. And then doing it on every page, not just the homepage, every selling page, which I think bears repeating, because a lot of times people have a beautiful homepage and then you go to you notice that you go to the interior pages and they all look like crazy. So this is real quick. Just re-say what we already just said. Strong visual call to actions throughout the site, testimonials and trust factors, emotionally persuasive images and headlines. Make the ideal customer the hero of the story. Make it about them. Get your wee off the website. 4, an emphasis on search engine optimization. And then 5, really clear differentiating features. What can the competitor not say? That's what a differentiating feature is, not trust. Not just saying trust, not just saying customer service, right? Because they don't care. We got to like give very specific stuff. All right. And then I think we don't have slides for SEO, or do we have slides for SEO? Okay. Well, let's just.
So for SEO, I really wanted to, I know SEO is a huge topic, and I know we could talk about that for the rest of the day if we wanted to.
Yes.
I was hoping you could give us a breakdown of what SEO is and some of the brass tacks information. I am also going to share your lovely YouTube channel for SEO education. So if people want to dive further, they can do that, and you have resources available for that. But we don't have to, absolutely. And we don't have to dive in all the way into SEO today and get ourselves off the rails. So
perfect. Let's take 10 minutes. 10 minutes. We'll simplify it and we'll demystify it. The main thing is that you want to be able to know enough about SEO that you can delegate it well or have somebody in-house do it well, and to understand the level of effort that's being completed so that you're not getting ripped off. I do want to call out a couple of notes on here. Somebody said we just sold a house during this webinar because of Tim and ROOFLE. So I don't know, Guillermo, tell how big is this sale, brother? Okay. And then also somebody else earlier said, I love when Hook does website auditing. I have learned a lot from watching those. So what we do every single week, we're doing they're usually about an hour training videos of like, we're breaking 25K, Guillermo. Let's go. Whoa. Let's go. That's cool. So we do website auditing, which is like we have a 20-point winning website formula, which is kind of like the main things that I think are more likely to get leads. And we break down a website every single time. We're live auditing it. Usually it's somebody asks us to do that. So if you'd like us to do that, feel free to drop your website in the Guillermo doesn't get to. We just did yours, but no, I'm just kidding. Like audit mine. No, but if you throw it in the comments, I will grab that. And we'll do one. So, but it's basically we break it down, and then the other one we do is DIY SEO, which is every single time I do a very specific topic and I show you step by step. Sometimes you'll even see me not like I'm like going over to somebody else on my team and being like, what do we do for this? Like, but we're showing as much as we possibly can. You can follow along. There's 10 videos so far, but I'm doing one every single week. But the main things I'm usually going back and forth between are content and links, content and links. And once you get a basic structure in place for your website, like let's say you have these buckets for location pages and for blog posts, and it's a decently fast website. Let's say you're using like WP fastest cache to speed up your website or something like that. Or just basically that it's a decent enough website. Like once you get the basic technical things down, then it's really all the effort should be expended on content and links. So what does that mean? And why do SEO? Well, there's billions and billions of searches every day on Google. And like I feel the need to tell people homeowners are really making purchases from Google after never knowing a company before. Because if you didn't know if you didn't know that people actually do this, I think some people like roofers are confused. They don't know that people really do purchase things, roofs online. It's crazy. They do. It's awesome. And they do with humans, but they're actually finding websites online and reaching out to companies, right? And so once you know that, and that there's billions of searches, and that you can affect where you end up on that list, it's like kind of like, why wouldn't I? Especially if 20% of the clicks are going to ads, which we do as well. So I'm not ripping on, but 80% of the clicks are going to that organic section. 80% of the clicks. And I would recommend pushing hard on that organic thing, even if it takes time and it takes work. And if we talk about how ROOFLE can play into these things, you look at, yes, absolutely, Gilsamer, you should be going after the terms that are talking about price with ROOFLE. So like if somebody is asking like, how much does a roof cost near me and things like that, absolutely push this tool, push a landing page with the tool on it to those searches. So there are a lot of money questions and you should push people there. And as far as organic stuff, there's a lot of organic searches for that, like that we can get up for too. So if you put the tool on a page and then do like, what is a price or a roof cost in, let's say, Ohio, and you could essentially have a guide underneath the tool and then have the tool up top. So you could also use this in SEO to rank for something, and that could be a big differentiator as well on the organic side, because a lot of the things that are ranking for what is a roof cost don't have this on there. And so there's an opportunity there. And Yuri, would you like me to do it? You said you'd like me to do it on it. Okay, I'm just making sure I copy and paste all these. So yes, you should be using this in the organic side and the PPC side. And we also like it to drive more instant roof quotes if you're putting it in the comments on Facebook groups when people are asking about a roofer, because there's so many people in those comments just kind of like getting real, like, use us, but why? So instead of just doing use us, do use us because we give pricing transparency up front, and a lot of, you don't have to rip other roofing companies, but because we have pricing transparency up front, and that would really get some people's attention. And we've heard of that being very effective for roofers by using the landing page for Roof Quote Pro. So I would recommend that on Facebook groups as well. And SEO though, content. So I'm sorry, I'm coming back. Sorry if that was abrupt. Content is a big one. So blog posts for the top of the funnel, and then location pages for the bottom of the funnel. So if you don't have a location page for like suburbs or little cities around you, I recommend having one of those. And then building out as many of those as possible. So once you get one really good one, you can just duplicate it and change out the content and images. So that's a big piece of SEO, big action that you could take now. And if your SEO company is not doing content, let's say at least one piece of content a week, we're using a blend of human and AI now, and we're doing about 10 pieces of content every single month. So Hook Agency has leveled up. And at first I was like, oh, this AI stuff is trash. And then I was like, uh-oh.
Yeah, it can be incredibly useful.
Yeah,
it can be incredibly useful. Yeah, not everything. I mean, it's a tool. It's a tool to serve a purpose. Not everything has to be the most thoughtfully put together blog post in the world. It just needs to drive traffic.
Yeah. And so what I would recommend too so we do human edited plus AI every single time. But if you're trying to do this on your website, one way to do this easily and now is to use YouTube transcripts to make blog posts. So you can go down, you can put subtitles on, and then you can toggle timestamps on YouTube, and you can copy and paste all of that and then ask ChatGPT. No, you do not. Tom says, are you saying we can duplicate content for the locations? I would not recommend that. I would recommend doing it custom every time. It does. I have experimented with that, Tom. And duplicate content does not work as well, and sometimes could be negative for the website. So, but ChatGPT, you can put these transcripts of the YouTube video in there and turn it into a blog post. And you can very easily do that with just, as you can imagine, a prompt that you come up with if you're like already into prompting. But I also have a tool that does that, and I'll throw that into the messages as well. So you could use this. All you have to do is paste the YouTube transcript into this tool, and it will create a blog post for you. So that's one way to do it. The key is choosing topics. SEO is about topics, choosing topics that people are actually searching. That's it. So if you can figure out how to find topics that people are searching and that there's not that much competition for, well, you can dominate at Google. And especially if you learn how to get links, which I'll talk about in a second. But the top of funnel blog post stuff, you could use YouTube posts. You can do all kinds of things. One other thing that I love, one quick tip on that. I know I'm not supposed to go that deep on this one, so I'll wrap this up pretty soon. You guys can go over to my YouTube, and it's every single week I'm doing a training. But one of the other things you can do, I love it because it involves sales. And marketing's always better when it involves sales, right? Marketing, like instead of like, we call it They Ask You Answer. So it's by Marcus Sheridan. It's essentially like you could do a spreadsheet with every objection that you get, and then say when you get it twice and say when you get it 3 times, every objection that you get, and then turn it into either a video or a blog post or both, right? So the reason that this is good is because those objections don't just happen in sales. They're happening in the customer's mind before they get to you. And that's why ROOFLE is so powerful, is because that objection, you might pretend it doesn't exist, but it does. The pricing objection and the why are you more expensive objection. It's basically like those, we need to answer both of those things in our content. And if you do that well, it's going to help your SEO. There's obviously more to SEO. The other main thing is links, getting links from other websites back to your website. And I'll just briefly state 3 ways to get links, and you can write them down if you'd like. 1, guest posts. You can purchase guest posts on other websites and get them back to yours. Local directory listings. And I do show you how to do this on that video playlist, but local directory listings, you can just Google that and purchase local directory listings. And then press release distribution. Those are 3 ways to get links. And most roofing companies have like 2 good links, and you need at least like 5 or 10 really good links to start to be competitive in most medium markets. It's different. Like some of you guys shouldn't even touch SEO. So that's why I talked to Justice before we did this. And I was like, most people, if you're not going to go hard on SEO, they probably shouldn't do it.
Sure. And that's why I wanted us to at least give this overview of giving a kind of an understanding of it's thrown around constantly. And I think it's become kind of such a buzzword these days that people think that, oh, I have to be doing it. It's apparently it's that important that I have to do it. But it is one of those things. If you're not going to do it all the way, don't do it at all, and focus on all of your other funnels and all of your other ways to generate these leads. It does not have to be your bread and butter.
There are $100 million companies that have terrible SEO.
There it is.
But what I would say is, like, start by doubling down on things that are already working for you. And if you do have good results on Google, that's like, to me, that's more of like a sign, go push on Google. But there's definitely different options, right?
Perfect. Let's jump into social media. I know this is a big topic that you wanted to bring to the fore. So, how can contractors leverage social media advertising to amplify their online reach? How do we go about it? Do we want to educate? Do we want to entertain? I know those are kind of the two big watchwords.
Absolutely. I'm going to go with a little bit more of the organic side, because I do Facebook ads. We have Facebook ads for our company, and I spend maybe a couple $1,000s, a pretty low percentage of our marketing spend a month on that. I'm not saying don't do that, or like I do it. I do remarketing a lot, which is just when somebody comes to the website, then they see our ad later. And I do that for branding purposes, and I push on that. And then I also have like a low pressure thing, which in my case is like a website audit, but in your case could be a free price quote, right? Like low pressure call to action. And the organic side is something that I'm like more like, I feel like I can share more, but kind of as a practitioner for our company, we don't do social media services for roofing companies. It's very hard. So I recommend people do it internally because of the high touch aspect of it. And it's usually better when it's them, in my experience. It's very hard to, like, especially because you want like impromptu stuff of like picture of somebody brought in their dog today, or, you know, like Joe got a promotion, you know, or the homeowner, look at this crazy raccoon we found on the roof, or, you know, whatever it happens to be, like funny stuff, fun stuff. And kind of what Justice was alluding to is like most people are spending so much time on education and not enough time on trying to entertain. And I think we can all kind of recognize how we use the internet, and it's usually to kind of distract ourselves from, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go on Facebook and I'm going to get some educational content, or I'm going to go on Instagram and I'm going to scroll through reels. But you know what I want? I want somebody to tell me why drip edge is important. You know, you could, yeah. Somebody says our best organic posts are roof jokes. Exactly. Like, if you can try to be funny, it's generous. And like, you don't even have to be funny, but if you're trying to be funny, it's generous to your audience. And like, we can all note that just by watching Mike Goldenstein's posts on Facebook. Like, it's very clear that he's super generous with that aspect.
Yeah, no education coming from my camp. No, not here.
No, but for real though, like, you know why he does that? You know why I spend time on memes is because that's what works on social media. We're watching what works. We're trying to do stuff. You definitely need to follow Mike Goldenstein for his bad Photoshops. Somebody says, why is a roof the most inspiring thing in the world? Everybody looks up to it. Ta-da! See, don't you feel better just even somebody putting a joke out there? So, and there's so many things you can do with social media now that I can't. I'm in an office. It's boring as hell in here. Like, there's people on computers out there. It's ugly. I don't want to look at that. But then you have tools. You are out. You're like, if you're on roofs, if your sales guys are on roofs and they're seeing like the most botched chimney flashing of all time, like this cricket is just dilapidated, or somebody put crazy caulk all around a pipe that looks like shit. That is good content. Problems are good content. Like, fails are great content. And we're not like ripping, we're not saying, hey, by the way, JoJo's exterior is down the road, Cox like pipes or whatever. Like we're saying you should hire a professional roofer, a professional 5-star roofer that actually cares about customer service. And if you don't, this happens, right? And videos, like the thing is the algorithm loves tool videos too. So like more tool stuff. And it doesn't have to be perfect. In fact, you could fail on purpose. And that'll drive a lot of comments on TikTok. So like, don't be so afraid of there being some people chirping you in the comments. That's what's holding you back from doing fun and weird, crazy stuff. Tool videos do well. It doesn't have to be perfect. In fact, that's where I've seen some of them. I mean, I'm not going to recommend you fail on purpose on your tool videos, but that does apparently work. That being said, the bulk of your effort should be to the local market, not be focused on going viral. It should be on Facebook groups. It should be on connecting at homeowners in local situations. It should be working with other people in this is a big recommendation I have. Do content with other home service businesses or other personalities in your local market. There's mommy bloggers. There's Instagram people that are like all about your city and like they're doing, hey, look at these 3 date nights in whatever city. And like that person is a great person to collaborate with. The pest control company down the street is a great, like, and I'm just saying, make them look cool, invite them to do something with you, do content with them. It's crazy. You're thinking to yourself, do I got to pay this mommy blogger $500? Maybe, but otherwise, like, could you collaborate with her and be like, hey, it'd be fun to do a collaboration piece with like the top 3 siding colors for, 2024. Like, wouldn't that be a cool piece? Let's do it together. Like, I'll bring up video and we'll do it together. Like, she might want that piece of content. Guillermo says, be friends with realtors and insurance companies. Exactly. Do content with them too. And yes, I'm saying content because that's my game, but it could be coffee. But I like that mix of social media and in person. Social media and in person, and then pushing power to them. One way to push power to them is to feature them in content, to rev them up, to say, hey, you should be working with somebody like this, to do a tips post with them or entertainment, either way, with them involved. To me, that's kind of the blend that you want to do. Local market, local influencers, video content, coffee. Like, it doesn't all have to be content, but back and forth between social media and networking in person. That's the best, I think, the best way. We're just really trying to increase referrals. If there's any like paradigm shift I'd like to give you, it's like, could we use social media to increase referrals? Not can we use social media to get leads? How can we use social media to get referrals? So that means your audience might change a little bit to the end homeowner, who's could be a little bit of a secondary market, and referral partners could be a primary. Like, just what if you did that? Try it out. Try doing some content for your referral partners, with your referral partners. Try to stoke referrals with the stuff you're doing on social. In my experience, that works very well. And I've seen a lot of home service businesses win by essentially just getting more referrals from the people that own the attention of their ideal customers. And I don't know how to do it, but you could do it with like hairstylists, and you could do it with chiropractors, who has the attention of your ideal customer. How could you collaborate with them? How could you get them to refer you? And like, that's like BNI strategy 101, right? So take the BNI, the old school hand-to-hand business card strategy, and expand that to social media for the best results.
There we go. Be ready to give before you get. Be ready to make these connections and provide something to these other people in your community. And I think that also social media tricks us a lot of times to, we see things from all over the world. So we feel like we have to be relatable to the entire world. Whereas you're not, if you're in North Carolina, you are not doing roofs in California. You do not have to appeal to a California market. You do not have to appeal to the people that are on the other side of the country. You are working in your own personal market, and you can focus more on that and kind of get yourself away from that global mindset that social media tends to give us a lot of times.
Can I do a couple last, like, very specific tips with the social stuff? Like, get your face framed in the middle of your profile picture and utilize the personal profile a little bit more. That's where I see people, they're always on their company page or whatever, but you're kind of wasting a little bit of effort. If you could do a little bit more on your personal page, or at least share your company page stuff to your personal. I just think the personal page is underutilized. Make sure your face is, like a lot of times it's like zoomed out and it's like with a baby in a canoe or something like that. Like, ditch the canoe.
Be recognizable. Make sure that if people see you in person, they will be able to connect it with the picture that they see. All right. So we're getting down to the bottom of the hour. I wanted to go with one last quick question for contractors with limited resources, maybe younger companies with limited marketing budgets. So what are some of the absolute most cost-effective, bang for your buck marketing strategies that they should get on maybe before they move on to hiring a marketing company? But what can they do grassroots themselves, bang for buck? What are we doing?
Yes, absolutely. Facebook groups, get in there with your personal profile, refer other companies, and then have maybe a text thread or a Facebook messenger thread with your salespeople or the different people on your team, and then put it in there when you see somebody asking about a roofing company so that they all comment on it too. So then there's 5 comments for your company, not just one. And then be focused on referring other home service businesses and tag the person from that company that not just the company name, so that they see it and you get credit for it. So that's one. Next one, local service ads. Local service ads, it's like pay per lead, not pay per click. Google guaranteed local service ads. If you're not doing it, do it. At least try it. See how it goes. Like, that is a number one for a lot of people, even in competitive markets. Definitely try it. And then you can also get that Google guaranteed badge, and you could use that on your website as well. So that gives a little bit of more credibility outside of the ads themselves, which is nice.
Back to trust factors.
Absolutely. Somebody, Guillermo says, join your local chamber of commerce. I think I'll leverage on that with like Chamber of Commerce, BNI, any kind of networking, and then kind of do that back and forth with social media we just talked about. But in-person stuff, like when I went out on my own, when I was super early, I did 15 business days of lunches. So I made up, my marketing budget was buying somebody lunch, and as much as we can get to know people that, and it had to be on a list of people that could refer me. And then I'm when I'm in there and I'm chatting with them, like, how can we refer each other? And I'm thinking about how I can refer them. And if I was to do that better nowadays, I'd have differentiation on the tip of my tongue. Like, we're really good with metal roofs or something specific. And then I'd be really focused on, hey, what is getting you 2 good referrals this year look like? Like, cause that's the difference. Like, Matt Danskin of Restoration Referral System always says, it's literally 2. If you get them an insurance agent 2 deals a year, you would be above most of the roofing companies in your area as far as top of mind for them. So like, we're trying to be on other people that could refer us top of mind, and insurance agents could refer you. Even if you kind of, like if you don't love adjusters or whatever, insurance agents could refer you. And so that would be another one for, let's just push it on that. Like, anything to do with referrals from insurance agents and realtors, getting close to them, seeing if you could refer them to people, to home.
Everybody wants a real estate agent to be referring them,
Yeah.
But how often are you saying, hey, if you ever consider selling your home, or hey, are you looking at improvements to your home to increase the value? I have somebody who could help you kind of work through the math of getting this stuff going on and figuring out what these numbers actually look like, rather than simply looking for, hey, find somebody to give me referrals. Giving before you get, and finding ways that you can give back to those people, especially real estate agents, in my mind.
Absolutely. And this 100% ROOFLE is a big tool for that. So that you don't have to, like, every tiny little estimate thing, you can send them this. So this could be a big differentiator, and a referral stoker. ROOFLE could be a big stoker for your ability to get more referrals from insurance agents, right? So, or from realtors. Guillermo says, or insurance agents will start to trust you and not fight your proposal. That's right. And then also, you can, if you're the one telling homeowners who to work with, you can get them to work with people that don't fight real, like legitimate insurance claims. So you get to kind of be the one to recommend the insurance companies that actually are doing things the right way, which I think is another big benefit of having them as your referral partner, basically. So those are probably my biggest ones. There's probably some others that I missed. I think definitely there's a lot of like wild goose chases out there. You know, trying to go viral is a wild goose chase. Thinking a beautiful website will fix everything for you is a little bit of a wild goose chase. We got to figure out how to get people to that website, right? Like that's what really takes work or money or whatever. Like getting people to that website is the hardest part. So just most of your effort and time should be focused on that. And then there's other wild goose chase. Like that's the thing. Wild goose chases, we just got to watch out for that type of stuff and focus on 2 or 3 things that are going to drive serious leads and push on them. And yeah, so that's my recommendation. Double down on what's working if nothing else.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for giving such a wonderful synopsis. We're going to leave it open for a couple of minutes for some Q&A. I know we had one here that we had saved from earlier from John Baden. Is it more important and beneficial to focus on using emotional, persuasive headlines on landing pages than headlines including roofing keywords for SEO?
Well, there's a little trick to that. So what we'll do a lot of times is we code let's say a roofing city name as the H1, or like it's technically the main headline in the code above it. And then we have the more emotionally persuasive headline as the H2, larger though. So even though it looks like to Google, it looks like it's the biggest and most important headline with the city name and the roofing in it. And then to the human being, it's talking to the human being. So that's the way we do it. It is a little technical, but it's essentially that principle of make it smaller and yes, use the keywords.
Excellent. What else have we got? Throw them in while you got them, folks.
Yeah. What else can I answer for you guys? Can you recommend an average daily budget for Facebook retargeting? $10. I don't know. It doesn't need to be a ton. It depends on the scale that you're at, Laurel. So like to start, it doesn't have to be that crazy. What we want to do is everybody that hits the website for the next couple of weeks, at least, is seeing our ad on Facebook and on Instagram, right? That ad network. So that's really
maybe creating a landing page for that ad specifically so we can track exactly where they are always coming through this ad, unless you have a tracking system already put in place.
100%. Who else has got questions in here? We're ready to answer. I want to be of service to you guys. Thank you. Thank you for having me, ROOFLE.
Hey, thank you for joining us. This has been great. So informative. How much should I start spending with Google ads? Seattle based.
Yeah. So when I'm looking at Google ads, I'm looking at the average cost per lead and then essentially how much leads you need and what else you're doing. And so I'll look at like, let's say, and then how much do you like, where is your budget? So I think of like a 5% budget for your average roofing company of total marketing spend. So you kind of have to kind of settle it down from there. Like where are we at? Like what percentage of the leads is Google going to be responsible for? So if you have to get 20, let's say 30 leads a month, let's say, and your business is currently at 3 million. So we got 5% of 3 million. What is that? 150,000. I have to look at this. So that's kind of the 2 ways I'd go at it. How many leads do I need? And 1 second, I'm going to try. I'm terrible with math, guys. Times 0.05. So then it's 150,000 for your marketing budget total. And you don't want to do one, you don't want to just do one lead generation activity. You've got to diversify, right? So if we could break that out into 3 places, and maybe one of them is all the miscellaneous stuff, truck wraps, yard signs, etc. And then you've got like 50K for Google ads. Like I think about 50K being a good like I don't know, starter budget on this. And then what we're trying to do is essentially turn it into an investment. So you're not just, it's not an expense, you know, you're making money from it, et cetera, et cetera. But I look at that 5% number and you want to diversify. So you don't want to just hammer one lead gen activity. That's what gets scary for people, I think. But I think, yeah, maybe a third of your 5% could go to Google Ads. That's a good, that would be like an average recommendation, I think. How do you get recommend we get video testimonials? Where I live, a lot of people are elderly and they are very hesitant about being on camera. Well, in that case, I might consider trying to work with somebody that's not elderly at the beginning, right? So, and what I do like to do this. This is the one thing that I might recommend having a separate person or a camera crew for testimonials. Because what I'll do is like when I was the video guy for roofing companies, I would have them sitting, like let's say in front of their house, like in a nice spot where there's like flowers in background or something. And then I would say, I would stand over here and I put the camera over here and I'd stand over here and I'd be like, hey, you know, how long have you guys been in this house? Like, you know, what happened with that storm? That's interesting. That's crazy. Oh, wow. Like just talking to them about it, like casually. And then I'd be like, and like, how was it working with First American? Like, you know, like I'm still like not making it a big fanfare around the fact, but that it's recording. So that's the tone you want. Ideally is to kind of like, and off to the side. So they're looking at you and having a real human conversation with you that had like 3 questions before the one that you really wanted to ask. And then the camera is capturing a real genuine like conversation versus like a performance. And it is hard with older folks because they're not wanting to necessarily do this, but they also like are often like super genuine and like heartfelt, and they do want to help the company. So like, I don't think it's going to stop you completely if it is your ideal customer on average is elderly, you probably want it to be an elderly person. So I don't know. I think you could probably figure it out. If you find somebody, like if your salespeople are talking to somebody and they're like, that person would be good. That person like is fun. Like just to have your salespeople or you or whoever just like identify that person would be great on camera or whatever. Laurel says, how do you navigate people calling for roofing jobs versus roofing repairs, replacements through your Google ads? We're getting a ton of people clicking through our ads to get hired. So negative keywords is my biggest recommendation. Negative keywords means you're putting in, so I have a master negative keywords list for Google Ads, and I am going to, boom, put it in there. So now you guys have all of Hook's negative keywords, but you put negative keywords in there like jobs or careers or that type of thing, or apprentice, or, you know, and you'll see other things that we put in there like rooftop bars and Home Depot shingles and stuff like that, because Google wants to spend as much of your money as possible. And we need to give it some confines. So the best thing you can do is try to make your ads more tight with negative keywords. Laurel says, we've spent 38K on ads and made 84K from the spend. Okay. It's a good start, right? Like part of what we're doing with Google ads is we're making a system for getting more leads that's not just door knocking or just referrals. We want to have scalability and the ability to create more leads on our own. And so that's good. I think what you really should be targeting is probably like a 1 to 5 return on investment. So you spend $1, you get $5 in revenue back. So that's the way, like at least that's what you're shooting for. So I would keep pushing and kind of, you know, that type of thing. Guillermo says, wait, you explained that in your recent video. I'm trying to remember what video is talking about. But yeah,
we had an earlier one from Tom. How many fields do you recommend on a contact us page?
I would recommend as few as you possibly can stand. I see people that put the address on there and I respect that, but like ultimately as much as possible, like if just a contact us form, as few as you possibly can do. So basically like that would just make it easier for them to take action.
I mean, even as a consumer, if you give me the option of either a phone number or an email address and not have to give you both as required options, that's even better.
And most people, just one little thing, it's even like, it's weird. All the little things related to your contact form matter. It should probably be send message, not submit. Because that send message is clear what it is. Submit is like almost like a negative connotation.
Am I ever going to hear back on this? Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm throwing it out into the ether.
If you want to do a couple other things, like that's right underneath that button is unused space. For a lot of people, that's a great place to put these trust factors right underneath that button. Or even on our site, you'll go to our website and you'll see we have a link that says, this is what will happen when you submit this form. And you click it and it's just our salesperson like, hey, this is what it's going to look like. That intro call, like, exactly what's about to happen. So like what we're trying to do is just decrease like not knowing what's about to happen. That's the same with that process, that making the process super simple. And any of these like pieces of content answering objections or just things around the contact form that give them more trust.
Perfect.
And Laurel says, do you have any experience with leveraging geofencing and roofing ads? Basically, yes. Depends on like the level of geo-targeting you're trying to do. Like normally we're doing it at like the zip code level. On Facebook ads, I get a little bit more granular than that. Like I'll do it whenever, like you could do it for a home show, like a home show in your area. You could do a Facebook ad with a 1 mile radius around that expo hall. So I like that. And it's very easy to do. Very, very simple. For Google ads, we go more after zip codes. And I do recommend people kind of get really hyper focused on like their top 3 zip codes.
And I'm sorry, Anish, I joked about your question earlier. Mike is absolutely associated with ROOFLE. He's one of the big dogs here at ROOFLE. Mike, you want to give us a breakdown of what exactly you do? Because I don't think I could explain it properly.
Yeah, I'm the chief revenue officer. So I'm kind of the liaison between sales and marketing. So I work primarily with the sales team, but I do a lot of stuff with marketing as well and kind of bringing the two worlds together and growing our revenue basically in different buckets that we find future and current customers.
Hey, I'm going to try to do these audits for folks that ask, but if you want one and you haven't, if you haven't checked it out yet, I'm going to put it in the comments here in a second. And if you don't mind filling it out, because then I'll be able to get it to your email. So Yuri, for example, could you fill this out? I just want to make sure that I get people. So Yuri, and then if a steam roofer and hurricane roofer, if you'd fill that out so I can get it to your email, because then I know your email and I can get you that audit. Other than that, I guess we'll try to get it to those 3 people. But if you'd like a website audit, please fill out the thing in the comments.
Cool. And as we wrap up here, I'm going to drop our success center, win.roofle.com. If you go there, you will find links to all of our past webinars, upcoming webinars, our knowledge base, a bunch of articles and tutorials about how to use aspects of our tool, as well as access to myself, Courtney, and the rest of our customer success team to schedule meetings, get any questions answered, shoot us emails, what have you. It is all there in one convenient location. Do we have any other questions as we wrap up? We'll stay here as long as we've got questions, y'all.
And then just so everyone is aware, this is being recorded, so you can access this probably about an hour post closing the webinar. But it will notify you guys, whoever is attending, that the webinar is up and recorded, so you can rewatch anything that we went over today.
Yep. Feel free to rewatch. Feel free to share with anybody else that you know that this might be of use to. Absolutely send it to anyone. All they'll have to do is provide an email address to register to be able to view it, and then they will get access and they'll be able to go through and see any of the other ones as well. All right. Any closing statements?
Well, I'm just grateful for getting to hang out with y'all. And certainly if I can be of service to you on anything else, let me know. It's facebook.com/invigorated for my personal Facebook. Say what's up. Connect with me there. Check out. Lastly, my last call to action is Roofer Memes on Instagram. Follow us on Roofer Memes and collaborate with us on your memes, because this is a community effort to make roofing hilarious.
I
There
finally
we
figured
go.
out how to do that. I'm even
Yes.
collaborating with Roofer Memes now.
So you'll see
Oh,
Mike's
no.
memes
Oh,
on
no.
on roofs. Justice, the bar is lower in roofing for memes. Okay, we're just happy to have memes.
Yeah.
We just
No,
found
I know you were excited about Mike being involved. I know the bar's low. Just kidding. Love you, Mike.
Yeah.
We all have to give Mike a hard time.
Do you?
Yeah.
All right.
Tim, thank you for keeping your shirt on for the
Yes.
entire for the for the entire.
I'll be real with you. I thought so. Somebody said something in there about I saw something on a recent video about that or whatever, and I was scared. I was like, oh no, I hope it wasn't the Lee one, because I just did a video with Lee Haight, and I had to take my shirt off. I had to take my shirt
Yeah,
off
I hate when that happens.
in the Beacon booth at IRE, because he said he would do the podcast with me if I took my shirt off. So that was quite the experience. And, I'll do anything to help build my business. And that's how you should be. We'll end with that. You should be in that mode. I'll do anything to build my business.
Always be ready to take your shirt off.
Yeah, exactly.
What do you think about putting your niche in your name? Ours is Flat Roof Pros, or more generic would be better?
That's a big question. It has a lot of SEO implications. So I'll try to quickly say that, which is that if you're early, there's nothing wrong with putting the niche in like the city name in the URL. In fact, that could really help. But long term, it's probably better to have like a clear-cut brand that everyone would recognize. But it is helpful for SEO. If you do have like a city name or just the word roofing in your domain, it does help SEO. So that is the interesting part of it.
Cool. Anything else? I know we got that one just under the wire. If there's anything else, we're here for it.
Thank you, Tim. Appreciate your time.
All right. Let's
you,
do
guys.
it. Thanks so much for joining us, Tim. Thank you, Courtney. Thank you, Mike. Oh, no. All right. Everybody, win.roofle.com. You've got the link to the DIY SEO. You guys all had that form from Tim. You've got all the links that you need. Contact us wherever you feel appropriate, and we are looking forward to hearing from you. Everybody, take care and have a wonderful rest of your week.